Hi, this is Tony and Mahel with MB Magazine. And as always, we are so delighted that God gives us an opportunity to share the very best with our community. And today we have with us Pastor Jamal Bryant and Pastor Karri Turner. And we just are delighted that we have this opportunity to share in the joy and the excitement of what their union to one another is going to do, not just for the Christian community, for the Black community in particular, and for the world, because we know that the state of marriage is under attack by many different forces. And so today we're going to engage just in some lighthearted conversation to learn about how God is moving in their lives just before they unite as husband and wife. Pastor Jamal and Pastor Karri, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We're
you for
so
having me.
delighted for you to have, just to share yourself and your marriage, your love, your oneness with us. So let's get down to the nitty gritty.
All right.
How you feeling?
Great. Excited, expectant.
Amazing.
Good.
Absolutely amazing.
So what's on your mind these days as it relates to what God is currently doing through the both of you?
Pastor Carey.
Dear.
Yes. No, it is very exciting, especially for a model of what I call Love 2.0. When you're having a second opportunity, there's so many people who have been cheering from the bleachers,
Yeah.
saying that they gave up on love,
Yeah.
didn't believe that there was another possibility, and what I call love for grown-ups.
Yes.
It's one thing when you're in your 20s, but in your 40s plus, and finding a pep in your step is really, I think, what the culture needed.
Yeah, I think, there is really an unexpected hope that has come with it that I didn't expect that it would ignite in people. And so I think that hope has been for folks who have been married before, divorced before, or just searching for love, true love for the first time that had not found it. We've gotten so many emails and messages and stories of people who have been renewed in their hope of love because of our story and what we've been able to share. And so I think that has been exciting. It has been encouraging. And it just feels really, really good.
So let's talk about this. Uh, Through your life experiences with love and relationships, the different things that you've been through in the past, how has your um, definition of marriage, your concept of expectations, how has it changed from in your 20s to now the more mature you and getting ready to embark upon this new journey?
So good. When I was first married, I married at the time someone I dated in college. Got married right out of college. I want to say I was 25 or 26 years old. And because I didn't come from a background of marriage, I really was winging it for the most part. I knew that there were certain things that I desired about marriage, but I had not matured at that point in life to understand the fullness of what marriage is. The Bible tells us that there's a level of maturity that it takes, a level of grace that it takes for marriage that I know that I did not have then. And I think that over the years, through divorce and just in life experiences in general, I think that there is a maturity and a grace and an understanding that I now have of myself first, and then what my expectations would be, of course, of my husband. I think one of the things that I did not realize as a young wife was the power of intercession. Maybe handled things in ways that I probably wouldn't handle it now. And so intercession, I didn't know the power of it when I was younger, but I understand the power of it now. And I think that that in and of itself makes the difference in how I show up to this marriage. So I think really maturity at its core, I didn't know myself at 26. And so it was very difficult when you don't know yourself. You do have expectations of other people that they can't live up to because you're not living up to the expectations for yourself. So I think just a different type of grace, a different type of rhythm, and a different type of maturity now, I think allows me to be able to move in it much differently.
Pastor Jamal, how did you know that this was your wife?
Oh my goodness. I don't know how much time we have.
Shouldn't take long.
Now listen, take as long as you need.
Oh no, absolutely. Dr. Turner is amazingly brilliant and beautiful. At the last minute, I went to her graduation for her to receive her doctorate degree, and I'm holding the camera. She's walking across the stage, and I'm hearing the voice of God like, "Are you a idiot? I done put this right in front of your face, and you have missed it." But there's at every turn in conversation, I have confirmation that this is really a gift from God of a level that I have not experienced before.
So I've heard you say before that outside of marriage, you felt like you were operating at 70%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the marriage union, she would be that 30% that would really make you going on all cylinders.
Yes.
Okay. What is it about having a wife, a black wife?
Yes.
Okay. Why choose black? And tell us about the expectation of that 30%. But I actually think that it's your 30% now, yes, and she's bringing that 70% you need to be where God wants you to be. But that's just me. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that with you. Yeah, but it is. Euripides said that two heads make a monster, but it is only a monster when the two heads don't think alike. I think two heads are really genius. So to find somebody who is compatible with where it is that you are spiritually, for where it is that you are culturally, and where you are in terms of destiny, will make you move to a whole nother level. So I want to shift your math equation, not for 70 and 30, but I think that when you have the right person, it takes you over 100.
Yes.
We have reduced what 100 means in a culture that says keep it 100. That the new 100 is really just 70. As people don't know what the value of real excellence looks like, because most people, 92% of people don't like their job, but they claim they're giving it 100%. Imagine if you use that same level of energy for something you like and then multiply it for something you actually love. So I think that 100 is our base, but I think if the two of us are on the same page, then it's actually 200.
That's awesome.
So good.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk about how we define marriage for the two of you. As we were sharing and just kind of talking earlier, um, our society has one definition of marriage. If you look from one couple to the next, they have other definitions of marriage that resonate with them only. You know, some people believe that open marriages, that is that their definition of marriage. So, what has God shown the two of you is going to be the definition and how he defines marriage for the two of you?
Sure. I think, let me start by saying we know that there are billions of people on the earth. And so for us to be able to have met in time and space as we have, for me, I think marriage at its core begins with God connecting two people in ways that they could not or would not have connected themselves. And so I think at our basis, the fundamental thing that is there is that God has brought us together, and we've both gotten a green light from the Father to connect, that we are compatible, that He has brought us together in a way where our destiny and our purpose align, where our personalities align. We genuinely love and like each other. And so all of those things, I believe, have been connected in a way where God is able to use it for His glory. So our marriage is ultimately, to me, for His glory, so that we are able to produce fruit, and fruit that remains in the earth. So I think at its core, for me, that is what marriage is.
That is so good. That is so good. Pastor
Yeah,
Jamal?
there was a upswing in marriage in the black community after the election of Barack Obama. In his second term, it then doubled again. You have to think in terms of what does marriage look like in a culture that did not have models. So as an 80s baby, I say to people all the time, this is the largest amount of rappers and athletes with public relationships. When I was growing up, nobody knew who was with who. You had to keep your marriage a secret for record sales,
Yeah.
for contracts. Now it's public. The disconnect is you're not seeing that in spiritual space. So those who are on the vanguard of what marriage is the age of our parents or grandparents. But to see young and emerging relationships is a rare commodity that I think that the generation wants. When you have a generation that is now getting married older, and they're looking for Christ older. So they're not growing up in church. They weren't in vacation Bible school, but they're finding God post-college and looking for a model when they never had an example. And I think that that's the critical space of living out loud, that it was not a Harlequin romance novel. That this is not the Lifetime channel that is just happily ever after.
Yeah.
That these are ebbs and flows and waves, that you found this after divorce, after heartbreak, after depression,
Yeah.
after resignation.
Yeah.
To say that it is possible, but it is only possible with the presence of God.
So I find that in spiritual spaces, marriage, as in many things in life, tend to be boxed in, and it becomes a list of restrictions. There's a restrictions on how you dress, how you look, how you wear your hair, what you can do, what you can't do in your marriage, and how do you, with being the public figure that you are, how do you express and live out the fullness of your relationship
Yeah.
and your example without giving in to those criticisms and those boxes that people would like to put you into? Particularly, and you said something very key, marriage used to be pretty hidden,
Yeah.
right? And we're not really seeing it in our community, even on that spiritual level that we should.
Yeah.
So how do you plan to manage that and be that beacon of light that God desires for you to be in this season?
Yeah. The only people who can successfully live in a box live in a casket. But you can't live in a box and move. You can't live in the public space that we're in. So it doesn't matter where we are, what we do, or what we have on.
Yes.
There'll be critics.
Yes.
So if we go to the movies, why'd y'all go to a rated R movie? If we go to dinner, people are broke. Why are you eating crab legs? Yeah. You go to a fashion show.
Yes.
Why are you superficial? And so you have to, Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true.
Yes.
And so understand that while we are pastors, we are people.
Yes.
And so I didn't marry somebody to look like Quaker Oats. I want them to be free in their own personality and their own identity and their own taste, because that's what drew me to who it is that she is. So we're not living for storefront expectations when we have a stadium assignment.
That is so good.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add to that. I think that we're able to show up that way in public space because that's how we show up to each other. So what you see is really the authentic parts of who we are. He is lively and brilliant and charismatic,
More,
and
more,
yeah,
let no one stop you.
well dressed, and he is all of the things because that is naturally who he is. It's not something that turns on and off. This is who he is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same thing with me. I am not your typical pastor. I won't be your typical first lady, and I am comfortable with that. So whomever are not comfortable with that, that's okay, because I think people are drawn to different voices, they're drawn to different ministries, and I think that people have to go to spaces that they feel most comfortable with. And I realize that not every person will be comfortable with me, but I am anchored in me. And
That's
so
so
because
good.
I am anchored in me, I'm growing and learning that the voices of people cannot be louder than the voice of God. I remember several years ago, I've always done work with women, always did my own little things. And so I didn't just arrive in this space, do you know? But I remember the Holy Spirit saying to me years ago, you have to know who you are now, because later you won't have the time to figure it out. He said, you have to know who is who now, because later you won't have the time to figure it out. And so although I am growing and evolving as a woman, I will grow and evolve as a wife, as a pastor, all of the things. I am not looking for people to affirm who I am. I'm clear about that. I'll continue to grow, I'll continue to stretch, but I'm not showing up saying, am I okay? I'm showing up as I am. If you are drawn to that, amen. If you are not drawn to that, amen. It'll
God
be
bless your
well either
journey.
way. Yes.
That's right.
And so I think that, he has been very encouraging in this space because you've been doing this, honey, since you were 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not just doing this since he was 19, but he has been really largely in public platform his whole life. So there's a level of oxygen at this space that he is accustomed to that I feel like on some levels I have been thrust into. And so, are there moments where people's comments are painful? Sure. Are there moments where people's comments are just downright irritating? Sure. But I have learned what is my portion and what is not. And so I'm careful about what I consume from people, what I digest from people. And I think that that's how it functions. And so, we have a great, outside of our love and partnership, we have a great friendship. So there are things that we talk about, things that we laugh at. Y'all wouldn't imagine all of this. We read the comments to each other. And and if there are things that we need to discuss, we can. There are things that, if we have to do that, we do that. My whole point in saying that is we just show up, as we are. And I think that that is what we share with people. That is what is projected to people. And then we just, go from there.
What I want to add is what people probably don't know about Dr. Karri is because you are a public person or a public facing person with personality and character, people assume you are an extrovert.
Yes.
Karri is a introvert at heart. If she never goes on that stage, she is happy. I got to browbeat her to go hold that microphone. And so I think people make presumptions off of post without really finding out who that person is. And navigating the space to know social media is not real life.
It is not.
Yeah.
It absolutely is not. And to that point, I was going to ask you, what is it like being on the other side of Karri?
What you mean?
Okay, because when you become
Because I can go different ways. Tell
no,
me-
no. Oh, God. Okay.
Tell me what you mean.
Okay. When you get married, You,
That was a deep,
no, no, no.
that was a deep,
I'm waiting.
Okay, you don't know what it's like to be married to you because you can't see yourself. The same as Dr. Carrie does not know what it's like to be married to her
That's
or
good.
to be in a loving relationship with her. Why? Because she's not you.
Right.
So I'm asking you, what is it like to be on the other side of this woman's love in the position that God is giving you?
It's like having the Powerball ticket.
Woo, come on now.
You don't know what it's like to win 35 billion, but you can imagine it and think about what you're going to do with it, where you're going to go, what is going to change. It is the Willy Wonka golden ticket in the chocolate bar. You get full access to the factory without having to work there.
Wait a minute now. Clean that up.
He ain't got to clean that up.
Yeah, no. So no, I'm looking forward to discovering different dimensions of who she is and unveiling parts of me that have been closed,
That's so good.
that may not have really been unveiled to me. That people talk about in theory about making you a better person, but have no idea. So, what does the better version of Jamal Bryant look like? You know, nobody can think of what the 2025 Bentley will look like, but they all want one. Right?
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
So
You're
I
right.
already know that God has made me one of his top of the line factory models. But I don't know what the upgrades are gonna look like.
But she does.
Yeah.
And,
In
and,
theory.
and here's the deal. She does because God has placed her in your life to see
Yes.
what you cannot see. And don't you be afraid to speak to and dress,
Oh,
not
yes.
address, but
Yes.
speak to and dress and cover those things that you see, because we don't need the public seeing anything in this man. You see it first, you dress it,
Yes.
and you cover it.
Love it.
That's why God has given her to you.
I believe it. I share.
Shay.
And some eye candy too.
I'll take it. Absolutely.
So I have that same question for you. What's it like being on the other side of this man's
My
love?
Lord.
You know, it is, I think that it is opening my greatest dream book, my greatest, everything that I could have written for my life. I think is him. I could not have designed, really, truly, a better partner. I think that people get a chance to see one side, one dimension of who he is, but they don't get to see the warmth of who he is, the kindness of who he is. He is the most hilarious person on the planet. He keeps me laughing. He is. You don't have to take any vitamins with him. He is a natural, just burst of energy. So he is just every good thing. He is every place I have wanted to go. He is every every good thing I've wanted to explore. He is every great tasting food that I've wanted to have. He is my favorite sense. Everything that I could desire, everything that I could long for is literally wrapped up in one person. And then the cherry on that is that he is so brilliant. He can go from Shakespeare to
Talk, Dr. Carey. This is words of affirmation.
It really is. Listen.
Listen, it's a daily. I can't take it.
Yeah, no, you gonna take
I'm
it.
too melanated to
Yeah.
blush.
No,
It's too much.
No, but he is, he is a thinker and he is so brilliant. And there is not a genre of conversation that we cannot talk about. And so, I was saying I always tease him because he can go from quoting some of my favorite theologians like, Bonhoeffer or Tillich, all the way to talking about, Biggie or Tupac. His palette is just beyond belief. I love his vocabulary.
Oh my goodness. You're
I do.
embarrassing me.
Sometimes we have disagreements. It's hard to have disagreements with him because he'll say something to me and it might be a word that I hadn't heard before or a word that I love. So it kind of stops me in my tracks, and where I should be angry, it kind of turns me on. It's just, now other folk might not care about those things, but he is just all of the things, right? And so I think that being able to experience that, being able to experience that love out loud. It's so funny because while we do share things in public space, there is so much that we don't share and would never share.
Our Lord.
And not that it's anything negative, but there's a part of our life that we do get a chance to share with the world. But as he expressed, I'm highly introverted, and so much of what we do would never even make, social media, because I also believe that while we're in public space, there are things that we have to keep sacred.
That's right.
And I think the blessing of this is God has allowed us to be able to fortify privately and to share publicly on our own terms. So nobody made us do anything. There wasn't a blog that said, oh, this is happening, which most of the time they don't have it right, loud and wrong all the time. But there was not an experience that made us do anything. I remember something pretty traumatic happened earlier in the year, and I remember talking to him, and I'm like, honey, this is da 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 da. And he said, we're not moved by what people say or what people do. When we decide it will be, that is when it will be. And so we have had a rhythm of just doing things at our own pace, doing things in our own way, and on our own terms. And I think that is probably always how we will do it. So we're not under pressure. We're not under duress. We are really, I believe, being led by the Spirit of God in what we do and how we do it, and then how that is presented to the world.
That is absolutely incredible. And I really wish that more people had this as their testimony. And the sharing that you're doing right now, we just don't get frequently. The openness.
Yeah.
The day you met this woman, God was restoring you. The day you met this man, God was restoring you. Everything that you have gone through up until this time, everything that you felt like you lost,
Yeah.
the opportunities you felt like you missed out on, God is restoring it all and more
Yes.
through this union.
Unbelievable.
So
Yes.
we sincerely thank the two of you for taking time out of your schedules to share with MB Magazine.
We want to thank MB Magazine,
Yes,
and
so
we want to put
much.
on record. MB Magazine is the very first interview we have done.
Yes.
And because we have absolute confidence in your content, is why
Praise
we
God.
believe that this was safe space. So thank you for allowing us the room to breathe.
So much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And this is going to allow others room to breathe because it's life giving. Your union is going to be life giving to so many. And I look forward to the MB staff, magazine staff, looks forward to all that's going to come out of what God is going to do through you and your marriage to restore broken marriages all over the world.
Thank
We
you.
thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Yes.